All right. Thank you for joining us. You're joining Hire Harlem. My name is Jordan Stockdale. We are here with the Chop. Shana, what's going on?
Hey, Jordan, thank you so much for inviting me to host this with you on the Chop. I'm Shana Harmongoff, and we have Mario Rosser with us. So thank you so much, Mario, for joining us.
It's great to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, Mario. So I've seen you on the scene for some years now, doing good things, giving back to the community. Just want to, give people the opportunity to hear your story. So why don't you tell folks about yourself?
Well, absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity, Jordan, and all the work that you've been doing across a lot of different spheres within our community. But at the end of the day, I'm about making an impact for the youth in our community who are dealing with the most strained circumstances. I was over at 112th in Lenox yesterday, and that area has been dealing with a spate of shootings of young people. We're at a point in our community where we're dealing with real issues. People who should live much longer are literally not here with us any further. I grew up on a block where I was the only person from my block to be able to go to college. My life changed forever when at 17, I got into Columbia University. And I say that not because I think everyone should go to college or I think I'm special, but because I believe that genius is equally distributed and opportunity is not. And that's what I'm all about. I'm about creating pathways to opportunity for more young people like in communities and blocks like the ones where I came from. And I'm running for city council because we have the opportunity right now to use the instruments of government at this critical time to be able to make sure we have a community-focused economic recovery, to finally make sure that we are having land use decisions that are centered around housing as a human right and making sure that people can stay in Harlem and ensuring that we're investing in our youth programs as we rebuild this neighborhood and this economy. It needs to be done in a way that is centering those who are struggling the most. So that's what I'm all about. And that's where I'm coming from. It's all informed by things that I've personally lived through. And that's what gets me up every morning and motivates me every day.
So, Mario, you kind of talked a little bit about my next question that I was going to go into, which was how does your story relate to your campaign platform? So I'm just going to kind of skip to the next question that we wanted to ask you. And what do you feel are the biggest issues facing Harlemites today?
Well, number one, the biggest issue facing Harlemites are, number one, people cannot have security, and people do not have security in where they live. I'm talking to hundreds of people every day, and people will tell you there are folks who I talked to yesterday. 3 of their cousins have been evicted within the last 3 months from the same building during a period in which we supposedly have an eviction moratorium. People are slipping through the cracks, and that's been the issue in Harlem forever. But right now is really one of those points at which we can either see an acceleration of people being displaced from the neighborhood or political leadership having the courage to stand up and do everything we can, leave no stone unturned to keep our people here in Harlem. If we don't have housing for people in Harlem, we don't even need to talk about youth programs in the neighborhood, because our youth are going to be living in some other neighborhood. They're going to be living in Jersey or Atlanta, which has been happening. Housing is the fundamental issue that people are dealing with. Beyond that, I think the number one or 2 and 3 issue, which are really the 2 sides of the same coin, are safety and opportunities for youth. I talked about at the beginning of this call, we have a real situation in which young people are dying in the streets of Harlem. Gun violence is up like it's the 1990s in Harlem, right? And so the flip side of that is the lack of opportunities and youth-driven programs, right? And so we need to make sure that we reopen programs like the YMCA and PAL and the programs that Harlemites have been able to go through for years and have come up under, but they're looking at the neighborhood today, they're seeing these programs close, and they want them to reopen and be better than they even were before. And that means centering young people who are actually going to be going to these programs and creating what programs would be responsive to them. So, it's number one, housing. Number 2, it's safety and violence in our community, which is rooted in a lack of equitable opportunity. And it all goes back to that point. Genius is equally distributed, but opportunity is not. And we need to be using these political offices to create opportunity for people and connect the dots.
I like that quote. So you talked a bit about gentrification and how that's, displacing a lot of Harlemites, and there's some race implications there. So what would you say is the role of the, council member in ensuring that, one, that, long-term residents stay here, but two, that new Harlemites feel like they're welcomed, or that race relations don't turn poorly?
Well, I think number one is the role of the council member is to make sure you fight for folks who are being displaced out of their homes. No eviction is a good eviction. And that is the number one priority. Harlem has been made by people who've been here, who have created the culture and have created the arts and have created everything that is Harlem, right? And those people are currently getting evicted. And so the role of the council member is to make land use decisions, is to make sure that we're not building in this neighborhood if it is not truly affordable, and making sure that we're holding real estate developers to higher standards than we have been in terms of what gets built in this neighborhood. The role of this council member is to fight tooth and nail every single day to ease the pathways to being eligible for apartments for our young people who are having trouble with the voucher system and HRA, because eligibility requirements prevent them from being able to get an apartment, even though they have a solid job at a law firm that pays them $40,000 a year, but they can't even live in their own neighborhood. That's the role of the council member, to fight tooth and nail every day, to answer every single call. No detail is too small, but you also need a person who's gonna have the long-term vision to make this a place where 10 years from now in 2030, Harlemites can still live here. I mean, if we talk about folks who are newer residents, first of all, I believe that where we are today in Harlem and frankly in New York City, we need all of our resources to make this a great city that works for everyone. And, most people I talk to who haven't necessarily been living here their entire lives and might not even necessarily be Black, they agree with that, right? And they'll be the first ones to tell you, look, I don't want to be a part of the problem. I just want to make sure that we can keep this neighborhood great in the way that it has been. And so there is consensus around this. So I don't think we need to be concerned about offending anyone because they agree. We need to have courage and we need to stand up for what's right.
So thank you for that, Mario, because my next question was going to be to you. What was your plan to ensure that housing was affordable for people? Because I know you talked about housing being the number one issue and you were going to advocate for people to stay in their homes, but is there an actual plan, or you're just going to make sure that you rally up with the city council people just to make sure that housing stays affordable?
Of course, there's a plan. There's always a plan. A dream without a plan, I say, is nothing but a good nap, right? And so I think it is the responsibility for people who decide to run for office to be forthright in terms of specific solutions that we're offering. In terms of housing, I think we have to look at this through multiple tiers. Number one, we have folks who are in public housing, NYCHA, and we need to make sure that these are places where people have dignity and we're actually creating an environment in which people are getting their units fixed and people aren't living in mold, right? And so that means prioritizing the funding of NYCHA. We have a situation here in Harlem where there were dollars that were intended to be used for public housing in Harlem that were actually allocated to build Hudson Yards in Midtown, right? And so for all the talk of there being not enough money, there's no money, there's money. We just have to fight harder, right? But then I talk to people, I live right on 135th in St. Nicholas, and I talk to people like Miss Moses, who's the tenant association president between Lenox and 7, who talks about the great area of people who are in low income housing, who are starting to see tax credits be used as a vehicle to supposedly build more affordable housing. But in reality, it is a vehicle that is displacing people, right? And so when we talk about a plan, there are so many different things we need to do on housing. I'm in the community talking every day to people who are living in public housing, who are in low income Section 8 housing, or in voucher housing, who are in co-ops, who are legacy Mitchell-Lama. And we're gonna make sure over the course of this campaign, the next 3 months, by the time we get to June, people are gonna know exactly what they're voting for, exactly what we're gonna do on day one, because it hasn't just been decided by Mario. It's been decided by people who are going through these issues every single day. And so, but trust me, there is no candidate in this race who has come out of the gates with a more detail-oriented and solution-oriented approach than I have. A lot of them have actually gave nothing in the way of details. And you can go to marioforharlem.nyc and look at it for yourself.
And you always got to show the plan. So, on that note, you talked about the importance of ensuring that, the culture is preserved, that people that are from here can stay here, that there's affordable housing. And one way a council member can do that outside of the legislative process is through organizing, right? Literally bringing together organizations on the ground to create a larger impact. And so I'm wondering, like, what organizations are you excited to work with if you are our next council member?
Man, I'm excited to work with every single person and organization in this community. I'm excited to work with organizations such as our block associations who are actually trying to help people's lived experience on the blocks get better, right? I'm excited to work with our tenant associations who are dealing with like basic bread and butter issues, heat, light, electricity. Those are the organizations that make up the fabric of what people are actually going through in Harlem. And one thing that I can say is that no one is out here knocking on more doors, talking to more people in this community than we are every single day, who's heard from more people. And that is what's driving our agenda. And how you run your campaign is an indication of what you're going to do when you're elected. Typically, people don't become a whole new person once they get elected, right? And so when you see our campaign out here talking to everyone, whether they're literally laying on the street on 125th Street without a home, or whether they are the most powerful builder in Harlem in terms of number of buildings built, the net worth, we're talking to everyone. I'm a person who can talk to everyone, and all that be rooted, again, in the conviction at the beginning of this call that political decision-making in this neighborhood needs to be oriented around making this a neighborhood that works for the kid who was born into the worst, most strained socioeconomic situation. A Harlem oriented around that is a Harlem that's great for every person.
Thank you so much, Mario. Now we know it's COVID time and it's been affecting a lot of small businesses. A lot of businesses have been closing who have been mom and pop businesses for years. And so I want to know from you now, how do we protect these long-term businesses?
We get them access to capital and we protect them from being evicted due to rent, right? We need to continue to pass and strengthen legislation around rent protection and protecting small business owners. We need to make sure that further stimulus is actually directed to the community and our Black business owners. I live at 135th and 8th. And I don't know, for any Harlemites who might be watching this, Charles Fried Chicken is closed, right? And so these things are happening. The biggest issue when I'm in the community and I'm talking to business owners, it is the lack of access to capital and also rent, which makes it hard for them to be able to do business, right? Obviously, we have a situation in which income has been cut off, but are we willing to sacrifice all our Black businesses just because we've been going through an economic recession in which stimulus dollars went out that they weren't able to get to quickly enough? The council member's office, I think I can best explain to people who might not be plugged in, it's like air traffic control for every single dollar that is flowing through New York and Manhattan. We need to make sure that that office is directing the flow of capital and resources that are going through Manhattan to Harlem. My background professionally, I worked for years at LinkedIn as a partnerships manager, specifically working on helping small businesses grow and succeed and helping people get jobs and using our data to help people, to help organizations develop workforce development strategies. So with regard to supporting our entrepreneurs and supporting small businesses, this is something that not only I'm talking about, but I've done, and that's going to be something I'm focused on, because when I go to the blocks in Harlem, what people are telling me is that they want to start their own enterprises coming out of this period. But the number one issue is access to capital. Banks in our own neighborhood don't give people loans. And so what I want to do, I want to connect the dots around the billions of dollars that are coming into this city for economic recovery, not only public dollars, but private dollars that have been pledged by corporations that are operating in this city. We need to make sure Harlem gets our fair share of that. I can do that. I can promise to do that. And I think it's really concrete, but that's what we need. We need dollars, and we need to ease the pathway for to do business for our small business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs.
That's definitely what we need from the council member. Make sure the dollars are flowing here for the people. So there's a one note on the Charles Fried Chicken. I heard he's moving to the upper West Side, and I don't want to go to the Upper West Side to get my chicken. Charles, can you come back? Can you come back to Harlem?
Bring him back. Let's get him on next time. Let's talk about it.
All right, so how can folks get involved in the campaign?
People can get involved in the campaign right now by texting Harlem to 55444. Again, text Harlem to 55444. I'll have someone reach out to you within the next 12 hours. We need people who are real people, who are honest people, who are willing to help other Harlemites as we build a campaign that's focused on solution and bringing people who have not been involved in local politics into the fold so that everyone can take ownership of this community. Whatever is going on in Washington, D.C., Washington is going to do what Washington is going to do. But this is Harlem. And so we need people who are willing to help us take ownership of what's happening in this community. So text Harlem to 55444, and we'll have someone reach out to you within the next 12 hours.
All right. We appreciate this interview. We got a quick lightning round.
Yeah.
Just real quick. Just lighthearted questions.
Yeah.
Shana, you wanna start out?
Yeah. So I want to know, what's your favorite soul food restaurant in Harlem?
My favorite soul food restaurant in Harlem. You know what? I would have to go ahead and say a mixture. It's not just soul food, but it's also Jamaican food, and it's King Barker. It's right across from my house. It's bread and butter. It's the only spot in Harlem you'll see a line there at 24/7. Right, King Barker with the yellow on it. For people who've been around a long time, it used to be called Evie's on 135th.
Evie's, okay, yeah.
Yep, between St. Nicholas and 8th.
All right. Chopped cheese or Philly cheese steak?
You know what? I would say, look, I'm more of a gyro dude. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to people on here and say I'm just eating chopped cheese all the time. If it was between the two, I would say chopped cheese. But like, if you go to my deli, you actually talk to people who see Mario coming to the deli, Mario's more likely to go ahead and get a gyro or a wrap. So the gyro with the lamb meat.
All right.
So if you could have a superpower, what would it be?
If I could have a superpower, what would it be? Man, honestly, I would love to be able to fly. Like, what?
Like, that's pretty dope, because then you wouldn't have to worry about transportation, right? And we all know transportation is kind of slow. Even in driving traffic is kind of, so if you could fly, that'd be super dope.
Right. Look, I mean, I'm having trouble getting around Harlem. We need to go to different buildings. If I could fly, that would solve a lot of problems right now.
All right, what's your favorite Harlem monument or statue?
My favorite Harlem monument, I would have to say that it is the Adam Clayton Powell statue over at the State Office Building. I am a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and that he is actually my big brother within my chapter here in Harlem, along with Charlie Rainbow, along with a lot of other folks who, David Dinkins, who made Harlem what it is. So I feel that it is my responsibility to carry the torch forward, make them proud, and it brings me a lot of pride to see Big Brother Adam Clayton Powell looking forward and providing upliftment to this community at a time when he was operating and needed it. And I hope that what I'm doing can provide encouragement or empowerment to someone else. So I would say that's my favorite one.
So this is a fun one. Bodega with the cat or without a cat?
It's funny you asked that question. Literally, I go to like two main bodegas, and the one of them that I go to is on 135th between 8th and 7th, and they literally have a black cat, and it just wouldn't be it without the cat. So I don't have a problem with that. Like, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that, someone finds me, but if I'm being honest, that's what makes the neighborhood unique, right? The people, the cats that you see, right? In the deli, right? That's what makes this a place that is the most homey neighborhood in all of Manhattan, right? It's the people, it's the animals, it's the parks, right? And so we have to embrace all of that and protect it.
All right, Mario, we really appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you for telling your story. Thank you for telling us your platform. And thank you for just continuing to work hard every day for Harlemites.
Yes, thank you for chopping it up with us.
Thank you all, and I'll see you in the streets.
All right, peace.